If you're watching this video right now, you're already ahead of 90% of people looking to start their own pressure washing business. You might have seen all these reels on Instagram or TikTok talking about how easy it is to start a pressure washing business in 2025. And they're completely right. And you might have even seen some of my own content. But watching other people succeed is not what's going to make you guys succeed. And that's why I put together a list of 7 steps that are going to help you guys create a successful pressure washing business that can help you make $10,000 to $15,000 a month. All right, now let's get right into step 1. Why did I choose pressure washing as a business to start? Now, there are plenty of service businesses to start if you're a teen in the summer and you're looking to make some money. I could cut lawns, I could sell snacks with my friends. I could do so many different types of businesses. Why did I choose pressure washing? Now, my number one reason for this is because it's super affordable to start. I started with just $100 that took out of my savings account. I bought a pressure washer off Facebook Marketplace, and with that pressure washer, I made $1,000 in the first month. That brings me to my second reason. Pressure washing is also super easy to make money with. It doesn't take a genius to start a pressure washing business. You don't have to have any sort of degree, and it's really, really easy. All you have to do is knock on a couple doors, even if you're not the most confident person in the world or the best door-to-door salesman. All you have to do is go out there and really want to make that money. That's how I made almost $20,000 within my first 5 months of starting my pressure washing business. And then my third reason is that it's super satisfying and fun to start, especially when you have a dirty driveway or something that really needs to be cleaned, as well as if you do it with friends as well. It can be a really fun summer side hustle or even a full-on business if that's the path that you decide to go down. Now let's go on to step 2. What do you need to start a pressure washing business? Now, I've also had people reach out to me and saying that they don't have any money to start a pressure washing business with. And the best part about it is that you actually don't need a penny to your name to start a pressure washing business. What me and my friend first did when we started this business is we went door to door for a whole weekend. We knocked on people's doors. We pitched our service idea. We didn't even own a pressure washer yet. Didn't know how to work one, didn't know how to turn it on. And we scheduled 3 clients for the next week ahead. That's when we finally took our money out of our savings account. Or if you guys don't have any money to your name, you guys can always, go borrow some, say you'll pay it back the very next day or whenever you're doing the job. You already have proof you're doing the job. That's how I would start a pressure washing business if I had no money I wanted to start. And you have some backup, if somebody cancels. Now, if you have a little bit more to start on your pressure washing business, I would recommend getting a gas pressure washer, a way to transport your stuff, longer hose reels, and a way to pre and post treat your services, as well as a service cleaner. There's so many things that you guys need to start a pressure washing business. So if you guys go down to my bio, you will see I have an Amazon storefront with everything you need to start a pressure washing business in there, from very basic all the way up to full-on commercial tier pressure washing businesses. So go check out that link in my bio, the Amazon link, and my whole storefront that is there. Let's move on to step 3. How do you get clients? Now, there's plenty of ways to get clients. You can make some flyers, you can do door hangers, yard signs. Let's just say, the best way to get clients is to get your name out there when you're first starting. And I feel like the best way to do this would be door-to-door sales. Now, door-to-door sales, not everybody has the guts to do it, and that's okay. But if you really want to start this business, you really want to grow it, door-to-door sales is the way to go, because you're getting your name out there, and you have a much higher success rate. As you're talking to more people, you're getting out of your comfort zone. It's a great way to build your business and get into more exposure. I've been doing door-to-door sales for the last 5 months, and I've done over $20,000 in door-to-door sales across my pressure washing business, my Christmas light installation business you guys will see soon on my Instagram and TikTok accounts. I'll actually make a video on here soon enough about Christmas light installation. But I've done almost $20,000 in door-to-door sales in the last 5 months, and I'm 14 years old. I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have a college degree. None of that. It's super easy to do, and the best way to do it, you just pull on a polo shirt, look the part, knock up someone's door, and give a simple pitch. Say, hey, my name's Henry. I started a pressure washing business. I live right down the street. I just finished up some work for your neighbor. Just make up a name down the road on whatever streets nearby. You just give a simple pitch like that, offer to give a quote. If they like the quote, go ahead, you give them the quote, you put them on the schedule, grab their phone number, and put it in the book. It's that simple. You just knock on someone's door. People overthink it. People are like, oh, I got to make a website. I got to do a logo. The best way to start your business, you don't need a logo, website, branding, clothing, investments, anything. First thing you should do is get some clients, get some money, knock on some doors, and schedule for a few clients. That's the first thing you should do when you're starting a pressure washing business. Don't waste time with anything else. Your first priority should be getting your first couple of clients. Now, let's move on to step 3. How do I price my jobs for pressure washing? Now, this is a question I get asked very frequently in my Instagram DMs and TikTok DMs. You guys are wondering, how do I price jobs for this? Now, it really depends on exactly the type of job you're doing, how dirty it is, and exactly how much time you're going to be spending on it. Because your time is money. Don't value your time any less than anybody else would. Don't value your time at $20 an hour. If you're a business owner, you should be valuing your time closer to $100 an hour. Let's just say you have a flat surface area like a concrete driveway or a back patio or a front walkway. you're going to want to charge by the square foot. When you're first starting out, you're going to want to charge closer to 15 cents to even 25 cents per square foot, since you're just starting out and your results won't be as good as someone who's experienced and can charge a little bit more than that. You're going to start off by measuring the square footage of the area, whether that's through like an app, you're using a measuring wheel, and a rough estimate of the area that you're going to be pressure washing. Now, once you have your estimated square footage, you're going to multiply that by your square footage amount. So say you're charging 25 cents a square foot, you're going to want to multiply however many square foot you have by that price, and that's going to be the price of your job. Now, what you're always going to want to do is you're going to want to round up to like the nearest 100 or nearest like 50. So it's like, if it comes out to like 133, you're going to round up to 150. If it comes out to like 165, you're going to round up to 200. So you're always going to round up. You're never going to round down. Even if the price may seem high, it's never that high to the client. So always make sure to round up when you're doing these jobs, because it also gives you a little bit of negotiation room when you're going up and talking to the client about the price. Now, but you're also going to be offering other services such as, trash cans, fences, and houses as well. So there's multiple different services that you're going to be offering as a pressure washing business, and it's important that you know how to price all of them. Now, for trash cans, what I like to do is I like to do $20 for one can or $15 each can for 2 cans. If you have a client that's set up like, okay, every month you're going to come by and you're going to wash my trash cans, then you can start doing like, you need $20 for 2 cans if you come back every month for a couple months. Now, let's say you're also doing fences. I'd like to charge $15 for a vinyl fence panel. That seems a little high just because in the areas I pressure wash, they're very dirty. However, you might even want to charge closer to like $10 per panel, both sides. That's a great starting point for you guys. And then if you're just doing one side, you can do like $4 or $5 if it's on the plastic-y ones. If it's a wooden painted fence, you're going to have to use your chemicals and soft wash it, because that's not a fence you can just take your pressure to and pressure wash that one, because it's going to tear off the paint. So what you're going to want to make sure you're doing is you're going to want to also factor in the cost of your chemicals and the other supplies that you may need to complete the job, and then you're going to value your time after that. Now, another thing you guys are going to be doing when you moved on, in the future, you're more experienced, is houses. Now, house siding is one of the most profitable ways to make money in pressure washing. You can make anywhere from $600 to almost $3,000 per house that you pressure wash, and this is where the real money comes in. Now, this is where you'll see people talking about like, oh, I got a $1,200 client, I got a $1,700 client. This is where the real money comes in. This is called soft washing, and this is when you're using a chemical to spray down and wash a house without using actual high pressure. You're gonna want to factor in your chemical costs. You need special tools like an X-Jet. You're gonna need a gas pressure washer. You're gonna need a lot of higher quality tools to complete this work. But once you have that, you're also gonna be able to charge much more. You're gonna have better results, and you're gonna get more happy clients because you're delivering better quality work and results. Now, for house siding, I like to charge anywhere from $100 to almost $400, depending on how big it is and how dirty it is. So like if it's a huge house, like almost a mansion size, like and super dirty, I'm gonna charge probably $400 to $500 per for like the back and the front, and then maybe I'll charge $200 for the sides. You guys will definitely experiment with your pricing on this. Like new guys, when they're first doing siding, they charge like $100 for like the siding of a small house. That's pretty standard. When you're just starting out, you're just beginning, that's gonna really help you get your feet in the water. You're gonna get used to doing this type of pressure washing, and it's a great way to experiment with new types of services such as soft washing. All right, now let's move on to the next step: showing up to the job. Now, this might seem very simple, but it actually trips a lot of people up. What do you do when you get to the job? Like exactly, how do you complete the job? How do you ask for payment? Like I'm gonna walk you guys through exactly what to do when you get to your job. So obviously you're gonna want to send your client a text message right before the job saying, hey, I'm gonna be here in like 15 to 20 minutes. That's gonna give them a heads up. You should have already had them pre-scheduled instead of doing it right away. That's the most professional way to go about these things. You're gonna want to get there 2 to 5 minutes before what you said. It shows you're on time early, and the second you get there, you're going to want to greet the client. If they're not there, you don't have to greet the client, but so you're going to just get right into it. If you greet the client, you're going to say, hey, thank you so much for hiring me, and then you're going to get right to it. If you need electricity, you're going to plug your extension cord in, hook up your water from your hoses, or use the client's hose if you're really, really just starting out. But the whole point is that you're going to be as respectful and professional as possible. Now, the next step is obviously to complete jobs. So if you're using a gas pressure washer, you're going to do the same process. You guys are going to be very experienced. You'll know how to do the job. Once you do the job, you're going to want to scour your job site. You're going to want to make sure that you don't leave any trash, any buckets of pool chlorine, any like lids or anything, like any drinks, anything that you're going to want to make sure you don't leave any trash. And then you're also going to make sure you don't leave any splatter. So sometimes, if you're pressure washing a driveway, you might get some splatter on the garage. You're going to want to make sure to rinse all that off, because this is the stuff that clients pay attention to, how you leave the area around where you're pressure washing more than the actual job. The worst type of phone call you can receive receive after a job is that it looks great, but there's splatter on my furniture or garage door or walkway that I need you to come fix. Always make sure that the area around where you're pressure washing looks great as well, because you want to leave the best impression. That's the way you're going to get the most amount of referrals. Say like, this kid did amazing work, or this guy did amazing work, or whatever they're going to say. But you always make sure that it looks professional and fully complete, like you didn't rush through it. Now, after you've completed the job, you're going to want to knock on the door. If your client's there, you want to send them like, hey, you're going to do a final walkthrough with them. You're going to walk them through your process, ask them, how it looks, show them before and after photos. If the client isn't there, you're just going to text them the before and after photos, and you're going to text them a day to pick up cash or Zelle or PayPal if you have to. Always try to get cash. So let's just say you're in person, you're going to ask, say your client has a look, they're going to either say, hey, can we do this? And they're going to be like, you're going to say yes. Or, always do revisions. If there's a couple of revisions or the client's being difficult, you guys can always up to your judgment, but, you can always say like, no, you got to pay me. But most of the time, you should just be fine with doing some revisions, making the clients happy. That's your number one priority when you have a pressure washing business. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to ask, for the cash, they're probably going to hand you an envelope with your cash in it if you've requested cash before. And then after, you're going to thank them, and then you're going to leave. You're going to pack up all your stuff and leave, double check, take some after photos of your work, try to record your jobs if possible. So that's pretty much all the steps you're going to need for how to complete the job. All right, now on to our last step, legal and financial protections. What types of legal documentation or anything like that do you need to start a pressure washing business? Now, when I started out, I actually had nothing. I didn't have any certification, LLC, business insurance. I didn't have any of that. I just had a pressure washer. I went door to door around my neighborhood, and that's perfectly fine when you're just starting out. You don't need anything. No certification, no anything. People will tell you, you got to get all this certified. That's when you start making your real money. When you make $5,000 to $10,000, that's when you should start looking into business insurance, an LLC, like a business bank account, all this stuff. But right now, when you're first starting out, you don't need any of that, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, if you've come back to this video and you have $10,000 to $15,000, or even a little bit lower, like $5,000, now is a great time to start looking into insurance. First thing I would do, if you're under 18, I would get an LLC. It's going to cost you probably about $120 with your state. You're not going to want to file it with a third party. You're going to want to file it with your state. You're going to have your LLC. And then you're going to add a parent or guardian as a manager under the LLC. Well, you are the main member. This allows them to sign contracts and do all that stuff under your business name while you still control everything. So this is how I was able to get a business bank account, because my dad signed off on it, and then I am still the owner of the account, so I'm able to make transactions and everything like that. And I did that with Chase Bank. So you guys should be able to do the exact same thing. You're going to have to read the rules and everything in your state on how that's going to work. For business insurance, I would think that business insurance is probably more important than an LLC or a business bank account, because it protects you if anything were to happen. If you accidentally damage a window doing a soft washing job, business insurance is what's going to protect you. So business insurance can be expensive. It's going to be about $1,200 a year at least, but you're going to want to need it because it's also going to allow you to open up new doors for commercial pressure washing jobs. I pressure washed a Raising Cane's location and a wine store in Connecticut. So I have done 2 commercial jobs so far right after I got my business insurance. So it's really going to help you get those commercial jobs. And it's a great selling point at the door. All right, so overall, I've walked you guys through a bunch of tips on how to scale your pressure washing business. So let's just go over them real quick. Now, why did I choose pressure washing, and what do you need to start? So I chose pressure washing. Guys, it's the easiest business to start. It's super cost efficient, very low cost to start, and you can make a ton of money. There's so much potential with this business. You really only need a pressure washer and a service cleaner maybe to start out. So this business, you really don't need that much to start out. And then when you scale, you're going to get a ton of stuff. So you're going to learn along the way. And that's the best part about this business. It's great. It's basically like a great teacher. You're learning along the way. It doesn't take a genius to start. Now, how do you get clients? Door to door. Door to door is the best way. Now, I also have yard signs that I use when I do leaf removal or Christmas lights in the winter, or pressure washing in the spring. I've tried out door hangers. I've tried out business cards, flyers, all that stuff. Door to door is the best way to get clients, and I've gotten almost 95% of my clients that way. Now, to price jobs, you're going to want to price the flat jobs by the square footage, and then you're also going to want to have your own system of pricing in your head, for the other types of jobs. You guys will experiment with that and learn along the way as you go. And then to show up as a job, you're going to want to be, key tips are going to be to stay as professional as possible, make sure you're not leaving any of that splatter, and being as nice and as friendly as possible to the client so that you leave a good impression and they want to hire you again next time. And then finally, when you're first starting out, you don't need any financial and legal protections to start out. Like, this is probably, I can't stress this enough, but you guys don't worry about getting certified or anything when you're just starting out. That's something that you can look into, you know, maybe when you made like your first $10,000 or $15,000, so after your first couple months. But just when you're starting out, you don't need any of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below if this helped you, or if I sent this to you through an Instagram DM or a TikTok DM, and I'll see you guys in the next few weeks for another video.